We want to get some perspective now from Fred Tecce. He's joining us by phone. He's a former assistant U.S. attorney in the criminal division. He joins us live from Philadelphia. Fred, I'm sure you're also watching this news as it breaks. Given the kind of people who are being arrested here, people at lower levels of firms, the names we're throwing out here, the sectors that they're in, what can you tell us about the type of probe and type of prosecution that the U.S. Attorney's office is pursuing?
Not a problem. Thanks for having me. There's actually a lot that's kind of jumping out at me just from the few details that are coming. First of all, as you've picked up on, it looks like they're going after kind of the quote-unquote lower-level people, charging them with wire fraud and securities fraud. And one report I saw said that they had been arrested on what's called a complaint, as opposed to actually having been indicted. And that tells me two things. First of all, when you arrest someone like this on a complaint, you actually have 30 days for the grand jury to return an indictment and actually formally charge them. And I think what's happening is that the U.S. Attorney's Office, if it was me, if I was leading the investigation, I would authorize these types of arrests to try and get these people in to begin to get them to cooperate and kind of point fingers up the line. You know, when I was a federal prosecutor, I always used to say that the last person in was the kingpin, regardless of the role that they played. So I think that's what you're seeing happen here, which is consistent with some of the stuff that we saw happen over the last 6 to 8 weeks, where you saw search warrants being executed, quite frankly, I think in response to comments by an individual in the Pacific Northwest whose name escapes me, who had been approaced by the FBI and asked to wear a wire. You don't ask someone to wear a wire unless you think they have criminal liability. So when this guy started singing, the feds moved quickly, and I think you're seeing the next chapter in kind of the movement by the feds to kind of bring the investigation and the prosecution home.
Fred, what's the next step? What's going to happen when we hear from the U.S. Attorney himself? What will he tell us?
Well, he'll come out and tell us that, basically under the DOJ guidelines, he's limited as to what they can say. He can tell us information that's going to be made public today. When you arrest someone, and again, I'm assuming that they were arrested on a complaint warrant, if the warrants that support the arrest, which is usually a warrant by an agent saying what the evidence is against them, he can comment about the facts that are in the warrant. If there's an indictment that's been returned that's been unsealed, he'll comment about the facts. Otherwise, quite frankly, under DOJ guidelines, his comments are going to be limited to that these four got arrested, who they are, where they were, and technically what they've been charged with.
All right. Fred Tecce, former assistant U.S. attorney in the criminal division, joining us by phone.